Dave Chappelle did a concert in Boston a few days ago. Chappelle does not allow cell phones or taping inside of his venues, and apparently he's very good at policing that or getting his team to police that because
That's
no
hard.
footage of his specials or his stand-up acts ever leak. And it's a bummer because, he is one of these zeitgeist comics who very often, inserts himself into zeitgeist issues, but there's no footage of it, but there is reporting of it. So this, from the Los Angeles Times, Dave Chappelle tackles the Israel-Hamas war on stage to a mixed reaction that included early exits from the audience. Dave Chappelle, for the sake of riling people up, and some maintain for the sake of comedy, has made a number of questionable and offensive jokes in recent years. Is that right? Case in point, his divisive transgender material. But he wasn't kidding around Thursday when, having taken the stage in Boston to entertain, he tackled the Israel-Hamas war. The controversial comedian's comments reportedly spurred some audience members to get up and leave. As a comedian and satirist, he has to navigate the complexities of competing truths, presenting perspectives that can be both thought-provoking and challenging, a Chappelle spokeswoman told the Los Angeles Times on Monday afternoon. In his set, Chappelle both condemned Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel, according to the Wall Street Journal, and decried some of Israel's subsequent actions against Palestinians. His comments on the violence began with him defending Harvard law students who lost job offers for supporting Palestinians, according to the Wall Street Journal. One audience member then yelled, "Shut up." The comedian responded by taking issue with the Israeli government for cutting off water, electricity, and other essential resources to the Gaza Strip, as well as the displacement of 1.1 million Palestinians from northern Gaza. Of course, that is half the population. Literally half the population now has been displaced. He also mentioned the role U.S. funding for Israel may have played in the conflict. Chappelle, who assumed the audience member was Jewish, said the person had the right to speak up. In Boston, he brought the conflict center stage, sparking some to cheer and others to call out or walk out, possibly in disagreement. In the arena with about 17,000 attendees, about 200 people left the venue. Well, that's not that many, thankfully. Intermittently in the last 20 minutes of the show, according to Chappelle's spokeswoman, Carla Sims, who talked with members of his security detail. She said Chappelle was attempting to express and uphold the humanity that exists on both sides and encourage people to speak more freely and have honest conversations with each other about the conflict. Here's a social media post that went out there. The font on this is very small, but it says here, "I saw Dave Chappelle last night at Boston TD Garden. It was sold out, so I would say 22,000 people there. 3/4 into the show, he said, I want to address what's going on in Palestine and Israel. He specifically said Palestine and said it before Israel. He said what happened on October 7th wasn't right, but also what's going on isn't right or just. You can't kill innocent civilians like that, and the whole world sits silently and watches." Then somebody shouted, "Shut up." He yelled back, "No, you shut the F up." And that basically, details more or less what the LA Times piece sort of vaguely
that also he said, "Don't come begging for money from my country and then go drop bombs on children and cut off innocent people's water and electricity. You have the audacity to pay to come see me and then tell me to shut the F up. No, you shut the F up." Yeah. The crowd started clapping and cheering and saying, "Yes, Dave," and chants of "Free Palestine." And then he said, "You're damn right, free Palestine." He went on a 15-minute rant about being a Muslim. I didn't know that.
I heard
converted. I didn't know that. Look, I don't even know about the person I'm voting for. And the Israelis are projecting what's wrong with them on Muslims, and the crowd kept cheering. It was surreal. I don't think this fellow approves. Crowd with typical Boston demographic, 80% white,
right,
5% black, and the rest Latin and others. And, that says something, man. That's what we keep pointing out about this, and that's something we're going to try to get into with Norm. As anybody knows, God love him, but that's an ornery character to interview there. But I would really like to talk to him about this, because you're seeing people come out for Palestine that are the same people with the Ukraine flags in their bio.
Yeah.
Like, not people you would expect. Like
Yep.
this demographic should have been all booing him, right? But by all accounts, you had a few who were offended, and the vast majority seemed to have approved of his message.
Absolutely. And that last part, he yelled, "What are you going to do? Cancel me? Go ahead and cancel me. You can't cancel all of us." Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
You know, the
Right.
response has been overwhelming in ways that is just impossible for the establishment to suppress. I mean, you see it not just in terms of media figures, because obviously celebrities have been predictably split on this. We did a whole segment on that last time. But just look at the people taking to the, streets of cities all around the world, not just in the Middle East, but in Europe, throughout the West, throughout cities here in America that are hardly hotbeds of left-wing radicalism. I mean, Dallas, Texas had a massive demonstration, right? And so that's super important. And yeah, that last point, you can't cancel everybody, right? I mean, it's super important to get this in the mainstream, because what do we know? It's very easy for people to be canceled or censored or excommunicated from XYZ group, organization, employment, whatever. It's very easy for people to be otherized in the early stages of this thing when they still feel like they can control the narrative. It's only once they realize they've lost control of the narrative that they have to surrender and at least stop canceling people, stop censoring people for pushing back. That's the only hope you have in getting the message out there, is just an overwhelming show of force in the very early days, which that is a good sign that seems to have shown up.
And you're also seeing the media behave in a way that is just really surprising. Like most news junkies, you probably do this, check the headlines first thing in the morning. I checked my headlines this morning. The first two headlines are about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and urging the Israelis to back off and show restraint. First two headlines, rather than Israeli hostages, time is running out. No, not that. The focus was on the Palestinians, and it's never been like that. And something that has been just really, honestly, disgusting to me is, even when the press never said a bad word about Israel, Zionists would complain that they get treated unfairly by the press, right? That they give too much positive coverage of the Palestinian side. And there was almost no coverage, and they were saying that. And now, of course, I'm hearing that again from Zionists with a little more reality behind it. But it's the same old story. As these people's children are literally have bombs dropped on them, they're still the victims. They're still the victims. The press is still being mean to them. It's just unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Please clap.